Welcome to NerdChat Spotlight. Today we're talking about the Burning Legion from the World of Warcraft. The Burning Legion is pretty much the biggest bad in Warcraft lore. They've been around since the beginning, since before even Azeroth was created by the Titans. Each planet that they forge and then bring life to in Guardians, such as the Dragonflights, they're constantly worried that the demonic forces of the Twisting Nether are going to come forth and bring chaos back into the worlds that they create. So they selected their greatest warrior, Sargeras, who's a noble giant, noble warrior made entirely out of bronze. And he goes forth for eons and fights these demons. And his powers are so great that these demons never really fare a chance. Even the most powerful of them just totally annihilated. And it's great. Sargeras is huge, man. I mean, he cuts planets in half. So, over the eons, though, he starts to witness the cruelty and depravity and just straight evil of these many different demon races cause some serious harm to his psyche. He starts to slip into existential dread, confusion, depression, and just all around starts to do some serious damage to his overall motives, his reasons to live, his reasons to fight. And near the end of his crusade, he stops fighting due to encountering the Nathrezim, which are vampiric demons. Their depravity and their mental machinations causing entire nations of people to turn on one another and slaughter each other and lead each other into just constant warfare. They've destroyed entire planets. And this leads him into snapping. His mind completely breaks. So this is the noblest, greatest warrior that the cosmos has ever seen. And after his psyche breaks, his body begins to show the deterioration of his mind. So as Sargeras slowly becomes more and more hateful, more and more depressed, and at this point is when Sargeras decides, you know what? Chaos is the natural order of the universe. What the Titans are doing is wrong. So I'm going to make an unstoppable army, and I'm going to kill the Titans. Now, as Sargeras' madness begins to grow, he begins to see the Titans as the reason for the creation's failure, for the fact that order is not a permanent solution, and that chaos is the natural order of existence. And he stops fighting. He leaves the Pantheon, and the rest of the Titans are sad to see their brother go, but even they can't predict just how far Sargeras is going to fall. At this point, Sargeras' eyes, his hair, and his beard erupt into flames, and his noble bronze skin begins to split. And inside, you can start to see what has become of his soul. It's no longer smooth and cosmic. It has become fiery and hateful. At this point, Sargeras is totally gone. He is no longer the Titan champion that the Titans knew and loved as their brother. So he breaks into the prisons of the Twisting Nether and releases demons, particularly the Nathrezim, there first. So the demon lords, or the dread lords, that corrupted him in the first place on accident with their depravity and evil, become the first lieutenants of his army. And then he begins to break out all of the other demon races that he imprisoned over the eons that he's been fighting them. But now he needs soldiers, generals. So he goes looking throughout the cosmos for them. And then, on the planet Argus, he finds his army in the Eridar. The Eridar had 3 leaders, Archimonde, Kil'jaeden, and Velen. And Velen knew that the demons were not the answer, and he took those faithful to the light among his people, and they left. Kil'jaeden and Archimonde gave in to Sargeras, and in return he gave them power and made them the leaders of his armies. They became Kil'jaeden the Deceiver and Archimonde the Defiler. Archimonde is the military leader of the Burning Legion. He commands their forces, he leads their conquests of planets. And Kil'jaeden is more in the background. He is basically the Burning Legion spy master. He leads their warlocks. He leads the Nath regime. He does covert stuff. He essentially attacks planets by letting them destroy themselves. Kil'jaeden is also the one tasked by Sargeras himself to go out and find more races to join the Burning Legion. After Sargeras saw that his armies were forged, he had the demons, he had the Nath regime, the Pit Lords, with Archimonde and Kil'jaeden leading his armies. He finally unleashed his newly christened Burning Legion into the vast darkness of space. And to this day, Blizzard has not released just how many planets have been consumed by the Burning Legion. All we know is that when they find a planet, they either take its inhabitants or they burn the planet to the ground and it is gone. Now at this point, the Burning Legion just doing their thing, going through space, killing planets, you know, what they do, demon army. They run into their first planet. That has given them real resistance, and that is Azeroth. That is the setting for Warcraft. That is where the humans are from. However, the first time the Burning Legion arrived, the humans weren't even really there. The current resistance against the Burning Legion at this time when they arrived was the Night Elves and the Dragonflights. So you had the 5 dragons, the red dragons, the blue dragons, the green dragons, the bronze dragons, and the black dragon. All 5 Dragonflights were fighting against the Burning Legion. The Night Elves were fighting against the Burning Legion, except the upper class. The royalty and the mages of the Night Elves were working with the Burning Legion. The battle grew and grew to a point where the Well of Eternity, which was the source of all magic on Azeroth, exploded. It shattered. That is the Sundering. That is how Azeroth went from being one supercontinent to 4 smaller continents. That was also when Sargeras was initially defeated. The Night Elves and their allies managed to close the portals that the Burning Legion were using to come to the world. And that was the first invasion. And that takes place about 10,000 years prior to what most people know about Warcraft. So that's before the first game. That's before the events of World of Warcraft. And that was the first time that the Burning Legion invaded. Now, Kil'jaeden, essentially the spy master of the Burning Legion, decides that in order for them to penetrate Azeroth's defenses, because since they've left, new races have sprung up. The Dwarves have become a major faction. The Night Elves have split into 2 different factions. The Night Elves themselves are on the distant continent of Kalimdor, and the faction that left them became the High Elves, and they were on the continent of Azeroth, also known as the Eastern Kingdoms now, but initially it was just called Azeroth. And also the humans have risen up. The Burning Legion has decided that with all these new forces and all these new races, and even the dragons growing greater in number, that they have to weaken the defenses of Azeroth before they invade again. So to that end, they recruit the orcs. And they do this through their warlocks. They send fell magic to corrupt the orcs and take a peaceful shamanic people and turn them into bloodthirsty monsters. They enrage them. They totally take away who the orcs were and send them to war with Azeroth. Now those events are covered in the first Warcraft and then in the second Warcraft. But most importantly, this leads into Warcraft 3, which is the 3rd RTS game in the series. The Burning Legion tried multiple things for weakening Azeroth. So the orcs didn't work because the humans and their allies defeated them. Kil'jaeden took Ner'zhul's soul and ripped it out of his body, stuffed it into the Helm of Domination, which is a big spiky helmet that most people will notice from being on the Lich King's head, and threw him up to the northern continent of Northrend, and used the Cult of the Damned, or the followers of the Lich King, to be the next wave of weakening Azeroth's defenses. And they did a really good job, except that the Scourge, or the Lich King's forces, the undead armies, were kind of following their own agenda, and they weren't necessarily doing what the Burning Legion wanted. They were doing what the Lich King wanted. But nonetheless, they did manage to cause some serious damage to Azeroth's defenders. And now that led to the first alliance between the humans, the elves, the dwarves, the orcs, the trolls, and even newer races like the Tauren that we hadn't seen before. So Archimonde decides that he's going to attack the World Tree. So using undead forces that he has now taken from the Lich King, saying, these are mine now, they begin to summon the Burning Legion, their demon armies. Now, the Night Elves were their own faction, they got involved, the Alliance, the Horde, they all get together and they manage to stall Archimonde. Now, the World Tree's defenses, the Wisps, or ghosts of the Night Elves, manage to kill Archimonde. So this is the first time that one of the Demon Lords have actually been slain. And after Archimonde's death, he becomes replaced by Kil'jaeden as the current supreme ruler of the Burning Legion. After Sargeras goes missing, or as far as we know, missing after the initial invasion of Azeroth. So that concludes the events of Warcraft 3. There's an expansion, but that's all about Lich King stuff. So that's a totally separate issue at the moment. Essentially, the Burning Legion is just at fault for the vast majority of problems that Azeroth has faced. The initial invasion from the Orcs, the undead armies of the Lich King, and of course, their own demon invasions. Now, that brings us to the present day. World of Warcraft's current expansion, Legion, has just released only a few days ago. It is fantastic, by the way. And it is the third invasion of the Burning Legion. They're back. And so far, they've done a very good job of bringing Azeroth to its knees. They have killed a great number of our current heroes. And as of right now, they're winning. We're losing. They've killed the High King of the Alliance. They killed the War Chief of the Horde, which has led to a new High King, a new War Chief. So as of right now, the Burning Legion's winning. I have no doubt that we're going to turn it around and kill them. There's a lot of theories going around that we may end up joining forces with the Burning Legion against a greater threat. Could possibly be the Old Gods, although there's not a lot of them left, and that's a whole nother set of lore. There's also the Void, like the Void Lords and such. Again, a whole nother set of lore. Guys, World of Warcraft and Warcraft in general has so much lore. I urge you to go to the WoW Wiki link that we're going to include in the description and go ahead and look at the Burning Legion, and there's so much more for you to look at through there. You can learn more about Broxagar and Ronin during the initial invasion of the Legion, why they were time traveling, how they got there. You can also learn so much more about just the games in general. There are a dozen books and half a dozen comic books, and there's a lot to it. And if you guys are interested at all in learning anything about Warcraft lore or finally getting a chance to play WoW, now's the perfect time to step in. It all works really well, and there's always a Warcraft fan somewhere that can help you out. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed our current NerdChat Spotlight, and we'll see you later. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Go ahead and like us on Facebook at NerdChat Productions, follow us on Twitter at NerdChatP, and subscribe to the channel itself. It helps us out a lot. Go ahead and check out our Let's Play channel as well. We put out 3 videos a week, and all the links are right here. Have a good one, guys. And there's always a Warcraft fan somewhere that can help you out.
Like Rick.
Like me. Josh knows nothing.
I'm rocking level 7.